So capital is the third factor of production which helps in production. It is used for producing goods and services in an economy. Now, by capital we mean all kinds of wealth other than the free gifts of nature which yield any income. All factors of production, they contribute to income, but we receive certain factors of production as a free gift from the nature, which is under some person's ownership or control, that we call it as land. But there are certain other factors that we use in the production process that we do not receive as a free gift from the nature. But this is also under some person's ownership and control. This is also, like land, it is also under some person's ownership and control. So capital is also a factor of production which is under some person's ownership and control that yields income, but these are not received as the free gift from the nature. Now, capital is that part of wealth which can be used for further production. Capital helps in further production. Capital is not consumed as such. It is not directly consumed. It is used for production of certain other goods and services. Then every type of wealth other than land, it helps in production of goods and services that helps in generation of income, that is called capital. Capital does not mean that it is only money. Any physical item can also be a capital, like all the tools, implements, machineries used in the production process. These are the physical items that are used for production of further goods and services. These are called capital. Then capital is the produced means of production. Produced means of production means capital is first produced, then it is used for production of other goods and services. As for example, hoe, khurpi, plow, these are the items that we use in the production of, in cultivation of crops and cultivation of crops. Now, these are first produced by men. These are first produced by men and then it is consumed. Consumed means it is not directly consumed by the consumers, but it is used for production of other goods and services. It directly helps in the production of other goods. That is why capital is called, it is a produced means of production. Means of production, but it is produced by men. It is a means of production, but it is produced by men. So all the machineries, all tools, implements, these are the produced means of production that helps in further production of goods and services. Then there are some distinctions between certain concepts, money and capital. Money is also a capital, but there are certain distinctions. All money are not capital, because black money is hoarded. It is not used for any production purposes. Money kept in Swiss bank, it is not helping our economy. It is not helping any production of goods and services in our economy. If a person is keeping a portion of his total asset unused, or it is earned illegally, then he cannot use it for production process. He cannot show it to others in papers. So that does not help in the production of goods and services. So all money is definitely not capital. But any legal money that we earn legally, and this we can show in papers, in book of accounts, this is called capital. Capital does not mean only the physical items, machines, tools, and other kind of things, but money is also a capital. Then capital and wealth. Wealth is also capital, because a farmer, his all tools and implements are his wealth. But any wealth, if it is directly consumed, suppose a farmer is having 10,000 rupees and out of 10,000, 2,000 rupees he used for consumption purposes. He has some seeds, rice seeds, a portion of rice he uses for consumption purposes and rest he uses for further production. As a seed he keeps it. So the portion that he consumes directly is not capital. A farmer is having, suppose that 100 quintal of rice, out of 100 quintal he keeps 10 quintal for his consumption. This 10 quintal is not his capital, but the 90 quintal is, suppose the 90 quintal he consumes, 10 quintal he uses for sowing in the next season. Then this 10 quintal will be his capital. The 90 quintal, whether he consumes directly or he sells it in the market in order to earn money, this is not capital. It is a consumption good. Then capital and income. Capital is the source. Income is the result. Income is the outcome of use of capital. If a farmer or an entrepreneur, he uses some capital, suppose 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs rupees he invested in a particular business, then that investment produces some income. That income we call, that return is called income. Whatever the return that is earned by investing capital, that we call as income. Capital is the cause, income is the outcome or the return from capital. So that is the distinction between these two. Then comes capital and land. Land is also a factor of production. Capital is also a factor of production. But there are some distinctions between these two. Capital is the product of labor. Capital is a produced means. It is produced by labor. But land is a free gift from nature. We do not need to produce this. We cannot increase the size of land. We cannot cut down the size of land also. But only we can improve the quality of land. Land quality can be improved. But capital is produced. All the tools and implements, earlier it was not there. Only through invention, by the process of manufacturing, these are produced. And these are produced by men. That means labor. Then capital is productive. Capital helps in further production of goods and services. That is why it is called productive means of production. Capital is always produces, capital produces wealth, and this wealth generates income. Now with the help of capital, again, efficiency of other factors of production increases. Efficiency of other factors of production increases. As for example, a barren land, fertilizer is applied or improvement in the quality of land is done, then it becomes fertile and we can raise crops. A lowland, if it is filled and some land reclamation measures are done, ultimately that lowland becomes a very comfortable and a highland, and then finally there either cultivation or rearing of animals or establishment of an industry that can be done. So it increases the efficiency of land. Similarly in case of labor. A labor with bare hands, his efficiency is limited, but if some improved tools, implements are given to him, his efficiency increases. That improved tool or implement is nothing but a capital item. So that increases the efficiency of labor. Then capital is the result of saving. Unless we save, unless a farmer saves, unless entrepreneurs save, the capital cannot be generated. We save a portion of our income. We use it for purchasing of capital items. Entrepreneurs, they save a portion of their income, uses it for production of other capital items. Unless we save, whatever is earned, ultimately there will be no capital items in the economy. So capital is the result of saving. Unless we save, we cannot generate capital items. Capital is a passive factor of production. Like land. Land is also a passive factor of production. But what is the active factor of production? What is the active factor of production? In the last class I told you, labor. Labor is an active factor of production because labor directly works on other factors, on land, on with capital. Then finally it helps in production of other goods and services. But capital as such, if a miser, he has got 10 lakhs of rupees, he cannot use it. This money, unless it is used, no capital item can be generated, no additional income will be generated. Even a good entrepreneur, he is a risk averter. He doesn't want to invest because he finds it very risky. Whatever capital he has, he wants to keep it with himself. Then that capital has got no meaning, right? Because capital itself cannot generate any income unless it is used by somebody, through labor, on certain plot of, on certain land, on other factors of production, unless an organization is created. So capital is a passive factor. It is not an active factor. Active factor is only the labor. Then capital is also mobile. The last time there was a question that whether capital was labor mobile or not, because land is immobile, labor is mobile, capital is also mobile, but I told someone that it is partially mobile. We cannot take all the capital from one place to the other once invested. Once invested, then we cannot take entire capital. So there is a distinction. It is mobile, but it is partially mobile. But labor, land is immobile. Land has got no mobility at all. But labor is fully mobile. Labor is fully mobile, capital is partially mobile, land is immobile. So it can be transferable from one place to the other, but it is partially, not fully. Then capital is subject to depreciation. What is depreciation? You should know the meaning of this. Depreciation is loss in the value of an item through its use. Loss in the value of item through its use. That is what we call as depreciation. This chair, initially when it was bought, this price is suppose 1,000 rupees. After 10 days of its use, if you want to sell that particular share, will you get 10? Suppose that share costs 1,000 rupees. If you sell it after 10 days, will you get 1,000 rupees? A car at showroom, it costs 4 lakhs of rupees. The moment you take out from the showroom on the street, if you want to sell it, will you get 4 lakhs of rupees? Definitely not. Because if you ask for 4 lakhs rupees, that purchaser will say, I will buy it from the showroom, not from you. Because you have taken away from the showroom, you are on the road, so I will pay you 10% less. Now this loss in the value of that car by 10% is called depreciation. Over the years, when a particular item, capital item is used, its value depreciates. Ultimately, it will be stabilized at a certain level that we call it as the junk value. Junk value or throwaway value. So capital is subject to depreciation because all plants, machineries, instruments, implements, everything, after it has a certain life. After that period, it will be rejected. It will have only the junk value. So the value that it loses over time because of its use is called depreciation. But in case of capital item, this depreciation is there. But in case of land, we don't have depreciation. We have appreciation. Appreciation means land value increases. Your parent purchased land, suppose at 10,000 a katha, some 20, 30 years back. But if you purchase that same plot of land, now it will cost you 10 lakhs of rupees. the value will appreciate. But the car that your father bought 20 years back, if you want to sell it, it will depreciate. It will not appreciate. It loses its value because of its use. Then, functions of capital. Capital serves a variety of functions. It increases productivity of labor. Definitely it increases the efficiency. It increases the productivity because with capital items like tools, machineries, and other implements, efficiency of labor increases. And with this, he can produce more of a certain item at leisure time. Then capital helps in extraction of goods from nature. Nature has certain capital items that we call it as capital of what? The natural resources lying in our country. This we call it as capital or land. All natural resources are free gifts from nature. It is under some person's ownership or control. That is on government control. So the petroleum resources, it comes under land. All fish resources, forest resources, it comes under land. Now to extract this, we need certain capital items. All technology, machineries that are used for drilling in order to extract crude oil, and then finally all machineries for its refining purposes, these are all capital items. And this help in extraction of goods from nature. Even if we want a timber, ultimately we shall have to fell a tree, cut a tree, then cut it into a proper shape, and then only we can get the logs or the timber. But to give this particular shape from a tree, we need some capital items. Unless we use the capital items, we cannot give a proper shape as per our requirement to a timber, to a tree. So capital item is a must in order to extract any resources from nature. Then capital helps in large-scale production. For large-scale production, large machineries are required. Huge plot of land is required. In order to purchase huge plot of land, then definitely we need to invest huge amount of money. For machinery cost, we shall have to use huge amount of money. We shall have to employ more number of laborers. There will be capital investment in the form of wages, their salaries. So ultimately, when you expand your business to a large extent, an entrepreneur needs to invest more capital. That is why the industries are classified into different categories: small-scale industries, medium-scale industries, heavy industries. It is on the basis of amount of investment made. Small-scale, less than suppose 5 lakhs. 5 to 20 lakhs, it is a medium scale. More than 20 lakhs, it is a large-scale industry. Then capital helps in reducing physical labor and allows people to have more leisure. Definitely this is yes, because without capital items, if a laborer is asked to work, definitely he will have to toil his body, pressurize his body to a great extent. But if an instrument or any machine is given, his work will be very simplified, and with less body pressure, less pressure on body, he can execute that particular job at lesser period of time and with comfort. Then capital can also be classified. There are different types of capital. First classification is fixed and circulating capital. Fixed capital and the circulating capital. Fixed capitals are the capital items which can be used again and again. These are durable in nature. These are durables that can be used again and again. As for example, all machines, a factory, tools, implements that are used in the production process. These are fixed capital. But circulating capital is one that if it is once used, if it is used once, this will be finished. Say fertilizer. Once it is deployed, that amount of fertilizer, we cannot use it again. But a hoe is a fixed item because that can be used in the next production season. So all the raw materials which are consumed in the production process, in a single production process, that these are all circulating capital. Then sunk and floating capital. Sunk capital is one which can be used for a single purpose. It is used for a specialized purpose. It is called also specialized capital. It only performs a particular function. Capital. Fertilizer. Fertilizer is a capital item. Whether it is a sunk capital or this floating capital. Fertilizer has a specific use. It increases the land productivity. Right? It cannot be used for other purpose. But electricity, steel, wood, these can be used for variety of purposes. Steel can be used for making different capital items for different purposes. It is a floating capital. But certain capital items can be used only for specific purposes. It has only a specific job for a specific purpose. It is used in the production process. That is called sunk capital. But if a capital item can be used for diversified purposes, then that is called floating capital. Similarly, money that we use in the production process, that is also a capital item. But this money can also be classified into different types. But before that, we have this classification: remunerative capital and auxiliary capital. Remunerative capital and auxiliary capital. Money as a capital we use in the production process, and we use it for variety of purposes. One purpose is payment made to the workers for their contribution in production. Payment made to the workers for their contribution to production, that is as in the form of wages or salaries. This we call it as remunerative capital because the workers, they perform a specific job in a particular factory or in a field, and they are to be provided proper remuneration. And the remuneration is provided in the form of wages and salaries. The money that is used for this purpose, that is invested for this purpose, that we call it as remunerative capital. Then auxiliary capital is one, all man-made goods, all tools and implements that help the laborers in production. These are called auxiliary capital because laborers, they use different tools and machines, and these are purchased by the entrepreneur and provided to the laborer for use. So money is spent on two purposes: one for payment of wages and salaries to the laborers, and secondly, money is also invested for purchase of certain tools and implements or capital items to be given to the laborers to increase their efficiency. So when money is paid in the form of wages and salaries, this is remunerative capital. And when money is used or capital is used for purchasing of different tools, machines, and other physical items, these are called auxiliary capital. Then there is another classification, material and personal capital. Material capitals are tangible, are in tangible form. Tangible form means, what is the meaning of tangible? Anybody knows? Tangible and intangible. There are two types of, even in the case of benefits or items, goods, qualities, it may be in two different forms, tangible form and intangible form. Tangible form is one that we can physically see, touch, or we can feel. Intangible form, physically we cannot see, we cannot touch, we cannot feel. A singer's singing ability is a tangible asset to him, an intangible asset to him. A singer's singing ability, painter's painting ability is an intangible asset because it is his internal. We cannot see, we cannot touch, we cannot feel. But the painting that he produces, it is in a tangible form. We can see the painting, we can touch, we can feel. So there are the material capital items, all tools, machines, these are in tangible form. This we can touch, we can feel. But the quality or the experience of a laborer, his intelligence, his capacity to do difficult job, it is all his internal qualities that nobody can touch, nobody can feel, but only they can realize that he is talented, he is more skilled. That is his personal qualities. Then production and consumption capital. Capital items that help laborers directly in production. Capital items that help laborers directly in the production process. This is called production capital. All the raw materials are production capitals. But when an entrepreneur establishes an industry, he employs laborers. He provides them the raw materials to work on. At the same time, he has to make arrangements for food, shelter, cloth for these workers. In tea gardens, there are systems that the tea garden laborers, they are paid free rations, free accommodation. Then even clothes and other things are distributed from the management. Then when expenses are made or capital is invested for providing food, clothes, shelter for the workers, this is called consumption capital because these are the capital items directly consumed by the laborers. But for the laborers, this is a consumption item. But for the management, it is an investment. It is an investment for the management because this is a consumption capital that is invested for the benefit of the laborers. Then internal and external capital. When an entrepreneur wants to start an industry or a farmer wants to start a cultivation of a particular crop, he needs capital. Then out of the total capital requirement, either by an entrepreneur or by a farmer, there are two sources. One is internal source, the other one is external source. Internal source is the one which is obtained through which capital is obtained from the internal savings of the farmer or entrepreneur. He saves a portion of his income and that he can use it in the production process. He can also get capital from his friends and relatives to be invested in his business. This is all internally he has generated. But that is not enough. Internal savings, own savings, or donations or gift from friends and relatives is not enough to start a particular industry or an enterprise. He needs some additional capital, so he approaches banks or any other financial institutions. And he asks for loan. So this loan that an entrepreneur obtains from other financial resources, sources, this is an external capital. External capital may be in the form of loans, shares, debentures. These are some of the external sources of capital. The different companies, they issue shares of their company, distribute it to among the individuals. Individuals, through application, they purchase these shares against a norm fixed by the industry, and ultimately they also become the owner of this. So these are external sources of capital. Then moreover, any financial assistance received by a country from other organizations, other countries, or from different banks like World Bank, IMF, these are all external sources of capital. Then money capital, real capital, and debt capital. This is another classification. Money capital itself is a means of production. Money itself is a means of production. Money is used in the production process for purchasing raw materials, for payment to the laborers in the form of wages. So that is a capital. Money that is directly invested in a business or in production of goods and services, that itself is called a capital. Real capital is all the physical stocks or assets, physical assets, all tools, implements, even the land, machineries. These are all real capital. These are all physical items that are available in a particular industry or in an enterprise or in the hands of the farmers. Debt capital. A farmer may take loan from a local bank, from the cooperative banks. An entrepreneur, he may take loan from different financial institutions. These are to be repaid after a certain period of time. So all these are called debt capital. So titles to wealth like shares, debentures, loan documents obtained from different financial institutions or from individuals, they represent an invested fund. They represent an invested fund. This is called debt capital. It is debt capital because this capital which is invested in the production process is to be returned after a certain period of time. So in a business organization or in the production process, money saved by the farmers, he can directly use it in the production process. His own savings, that is money capital. All tools, implements that he possesses and use it in the production process, these are all real capital. And if it takes loan from any other financial institutions or from different sources which are to be repaid after a certain period of time, this is called debt capital. Then comes organization. This is the last form of, factor of production. But there are different types of organizations. But organization means a person who mobilizes other two factors of production, land, labor, capital. Because land as such cannot generate any income. It is a passive factor. Labor, it is an active factor. But it has to be used with the help of capital on land. And whether a labor uses capital properly or not, whether a labor works properly or not, some other has to monitor this. some other has to guide this, what is to be done, what is to be produced, how much is to be produced, and when to produce. So all these jobs are done by a separate person or a group. That group or the person, we call it as the organizer. This is called an organizer. And the institution that he builds up, that institution that the organizer builds up for production of any good or service is called an organization. The entrepreneurs are the owners of the business. The entrepreneurs or organizers are the owners of the business, and they contribute capital in the business in different forms, and then they finally take the risk arising out of that invested fund. Now, this entrepreneur or organizer, he builds up an institution to use land, labor, and capital very effectively for production of goods and services. Now, this institution itself can be divided into different forms. This institution has different forms. Now, if a single person builds up an institution, that institution is smaller, and we have got different name for this. Two or more persons may form an institution. They can also start a business unit. Characteristics of the business institution or organization built up by two or more persons is different from the institution built up by a single person. Then more than 2, 3, or 10 persons, large number of people may also come together and build up an institution that will be definitely bigger, and that will have also different type of characteristics, that will have different advantages, disadvantages also. That name is also something different. Similarly, different people with uniform attitude, collectively they can also start a particular type of organization that we give a different name. And government may also set up different institution or organization for production of goods and services in the government sector that has also a different name. So ultimately, an organization may be of different types. So we have different forms of organizations now. Now before that, these are the functions of an entrepreneur or organizer. Functions of an organizer, what he does actually, what are his duties. Entrepreneur plans the business. In whatever form he develops, he plans the entire business. Then he raises financial resources and provided necessary factor inputs that are required in the production process. He makes arrangement for financial resources and provide the factors inputs for production. Then he distributes rewards among the factors of production. When any factor of production is used, ultimately, whatever the return that is coming out from that business is to be distributed among the factors of production. This is the distribution of rewards among factors of production. What are the rewards? Can you remember your very second class possibly? Whatever the return that is generated is distributed among the factors of production. Land gets its own share because land contributes in production. What is the share of land? Rent. We pay rent for the use of land. To the laborer provides the service, and we are to pay them proper remuneration. That we call it as wage. We use capital in the production process, and in the process we are to provide some benefit, return to the use of capital. Suppose we take loan from a bank that we use in the production process. Capital is used. We are to pay or return bank some additional amount. That we call is as interest. Then ultimately what remains with the organization after distributing the entire return to land, labor and capital, that is the return for the entrepreneurs or organizers' own contribution. That we call it as profit. So rent, wage, interest and profit, these are the rewards from a particular business. Then this is distributed by an organizer. This is one function of the organizer. Then he explores market for sale of the products. He finds different markets, how he will sell his entire product. He ultimately explores everything. Then he also bears the risk of the entire business. An entrepreneur, he invests capital in the production process. Whatever the risk that arises out of that investment or starting that enterprise, he shall have to bear this. Even if it is a single entrepreneur or it is a collective effort of a group of people, ultimately risk is shared by all. Then these are the different forms. I told you that there may be a single entrepreneur, single organizer, he can start a particular organization. That we call it as single entrepreneur system or individual or sole trade business. There are different names. Individual or sole trade business, or we can call it as single entrepreneur system. Here there is only one man. He controls the entire business. He takes the entire risk of the business. No other employees or the workers, they bear the risk. They are simply the employees. Main organizer is only one. Partnership. If suppose 2 or 3 people come together, start a particular business or cultivate a particular crop, that is called a partnership business. Then how many partners can start a business? There are also certain restrictions. We cannot have this entire group. We cannot start a business under the partnership form because there is a certain limit that how many partners will form a particular business. But whatever the form, even if in the partnership form, risk is shared by all the partners. Then comes joint stock company. If the number of organizers exceeds a particular limit, partnership is not allowed, and finally it has to be registered as a company under Indian Companies Law 1956. Normally, up to 20 persons partnership firms are allowed to form. But if this partnership firm wants to do banking business, then number of partners is still reduced to 10. More than 10, no one can start a particular banking business. But in other cases, up to 20 persons, one can form a partnership firm. But if 21st partner joins that particular organization, then they shall have to register under Indian Companies Act as a company or joint stock company. Then another form is cooperatives. Cooperative is also a number of people come together for a common cause and they can start a business unit. But their basic principles are different from the joint stock company or the partnership firm. Then finally, state enterprise or public undertaking. State enterprise or public undertaking is not under the individual influence. It is controlled entirely by the government. It is under government control. Government forms the board of directors. And the business is run. Whatever the profit that is earned, that goes to the government. ONGC, then Oil India, IOC, these all are state-run or public undertakings. Now, out of all these different forms, we shall only discuss the individual or sole trade business today. We'll see the definition, discuss the definition, its advantages and disadvantages. Sole trade business is one in which there is only one organizer. There is only one organizer. He owns the entire business. He bears the entire responsibilities and he takes up all the decisions. It is an organization initiated by an individual organizer. It has certain advantages. The entrepreneur takes personal interest in the business because he is the only owner. He takes personal interest in the business and he tries to maximize his profit. His main interest is to earn profit. So in the process, he devotes fully in the entire business and he takes personal interest in the business. Then, second advantage is that there is no second man to share the profit. Whatever is the profit is that is earned, he alone enjoys this. He shares this profit. There is no question of distribution of profit among other partners. Since there is only one partner, he enjoys the entire profit. Then it is very easy to maintain trade secrets. He knows what he does. He does not need to share it to others. If he produces a good quality product, the trade secret, he can maintain it within himself. Then, being a single owner, he can maintain very good labor relations. He can maintain very good labor relations because in this particular form of business, there is a direct contact between the manager and the worker. Sometimes the manager, he himself becomes a worker. He works in the factories, he works in the field, and finally he keeps a very good relationship with these employees. And ultimately, because of this good relationship, efficiency of the workers gradually increase, and they also contribute to increase in profit from the business. A farmer, he employs some casual workers, and there are some permanent workers in the field. And it is usually seen that farmer, he himself works in the field along with the other workers. Ultimately, there is a good labor relations in that kind of business, and ultimately they all contribute to increase in profit. Now usually business that requires small capital, because a single entrepreneur or single organizer, he cannot generate large amount of capital. So for all small scale business, this particular form is one very good form, because with small capital, by maintaining trade secrecy, by maintaining good labor relations, whatever profit that is generated, that single entrepreneur, he can enjoy it by himself. But there are certain disadvantages also. Although it seems to be very advantageous sole trade business, it has certain disadvantages. Since it is a small organization, it cannot generate large amount of capital. It cannot generate large amount of capital. But the modern business requires large capital, and for this kind of business, the small business in the form of single entrepreneur system or sole trade business is not suitable. Then second is, it is a great risk, because he takes the entire responsibility from the business. If the project fails or the production fails, he shall have to bear the entire risk. There is no one to share with him the risk arising out of the business. Then one person cannot always look all the activities in the business efficiently. This is another difficulty. He may be good at production, but he may not be good in marketing. If a particular business requires different expertise, it becomes difficult for the single entrepreneur to look into all these different aspects of the business. Then finally, business suffers in case of death of the owner. If the owner dies, ultimately, in most cases, the business is stopped, or it is taken over by somebody else. But in most cases, the entire problem arises with the death of the owner. So it is highly risky in its continuity. This particular sole trade business is a bit risky in its continuity. So these are some of the disadvantages of this particular business.